Hi everyone, I'm Zachary Gustafson, and I'm going to be doing the second video presentation on Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin is a huge character in American history. He's on the face of the $100 bill. So he's a great American, and I'm going to list many of the reasons why he was so great. He was great for the things he did in politics, writing part of the Constitution, a great businessman, and a great inventor. So he did a variety of things. So it's hard to just talk about one of those areas because he really was so spread out and had great accomplishments in all of those areas. So we're going to cover those. Sort of talk about some of the challenges that he faced in life and the challenges that actually helped him to become the individual that he was. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background on him first. He was born in 1706, January 17th in Boston. He was born to a modest family. His dad was a candle maker. So it's a lot different position when he was born into than the one when he died. He was an extremely wealthy individual. He did really well in business, had plenty of money, but this modest upbringing sort of helped him become the individual that he was today. He was extremely devoted in his learnings. He was an avid reader. He even said that he turned vegetarian so he could have a cheaper diet, so he could afford to buy more books. He even stopped going to church at one point, so he had more time to study and read. So obviously, learning and expanding his mind was very important to him, and that's why he became so intelligent because he practiced it. So that's really good. Some of his business accomplishments is that he owned many businesses, and he originally started working for Thomas Denham, a merchant who loaned him money to return home. He worked as a bookkeeper, a shoe keeper in a store, but he ended up actually buying the newspaper. The He purchases the Pennsylvania Gazette from Samuel Keimer. So this is a huge business move. Obviously, he's buying his own newspaper, and he was actually elected to be the official printer for Pennsylvania. So it sort of starts more of his business. And the good thing about owning his own newspaper is that he obviously would meet more people, but his connections and network was extensive, and so he was meeting more people. He was spreading knowledge through the newspaper, and that was a great thing. And he was eventually elected a postmaster for the U.S., which is quite incredible. Being the postmaster, that's a huge responsibility. That shows how much people respected him and how important he was. Now, a little issue he had with the being the postmaster would have to be with the Hutchinson letters. If I'll pull these up real quick, uh, the Hutchinson letters were letters from the governor, Thomas Hutchinson, who was the governor of Massachusetts, and these letters were urging the British to send more troops to suppress American rebels. And Franklin felt that the people in the country should know what was going on and they should be aware of these letters' contents. So he circulated them secretly, and that's wasn't supposed to do that. It was very frowned upon, let's say that. And John Adams actually ended up publishing the letters in the Boston Gazette. So obviously, Thomas Hutchinson was in trouble because he was on the British side, and the colonials were not okay with that at all. So Hutchinson had to leave the country, but he was removed from the Postmaster General by Parliament, obviously, because the English were not happy with him either. So, so even though he wasn't really supposed to do that, I think it shows how important this country that was forming was to him because he was risking his own job, his own reputation, to get the knowledge out there and try to get the rebels prepared and more aware of the situation. Because a big thing of Ben Franklin throughout my research was that he was super big on colonial unity, and most people say that he is one of the biggest reasons why the whole country was able to come together because of Ben Franklin's ideas, his influence, owning the Pennsylvania Gazette, being the Postmaster General, the way he could use his titles and power to bring the country together was huge. And That's why he's the great American. That's why he's one of the founding fathers. That's why people still talk about him today, because of the great stuff that he was capable of doing. So the Hutchinson Letters is this one example of how he brought the people together. He was actually noted for being the first person to have a political cartoon in his newspapers, and it was of a snake, and the snake was broken up, but the different uh, colonies were the states were parts of the snake. They're broken up, and it said that to come together or they should die. It's really cool. So that's some of his business side Ben Franklin's business side of things, and how he was able to use that stuff to bring the country together. He's also a prominent inventor. A lot of people don't even know that he's a founding father. They just think that he was a good inventor. He was a lot more than that. But for the invention side, he had a lot of interest in electricity, and there's always a story of him going around with the kite, the key, and discovering electricity myth. But he was able to use his findings and help create the lightning rod, help keep buildings safe. He was also credited for the bifocals, inventing the bifocals. And one of the big issues in Franklin's life that I want to know, I think really played a huge part in him becoming the individual that he was the failures that he incurred while inventing, as well as business and politics. It's not like this guy just thought of something and every single time he thought of it, it worked out perfectly. He failed a lot. He failed for success, but there was challenges that came along with this. And one of his actually most famous quotes is, "Do not fear mistakes. You will know failure. Continue to reach out." So all of his inventions, it wasn't the first try. They needed a lot of revisions and modifications here and there to work. And the same thing for his political proposals. His political proposals weren't always very popular. Like, he had outgoing thoughts and opinions, and usually people are a little slow to catch on to those. But he had the hard work and the motivation to keep on pushing forward with his ideas and with his inventions, and back and become who he was and change America forever. I mean, his first publications failed. I'm not going to try to pronounce this German word, but he played a part in trying to create a German newspaper in America, and the publication was an absolute failure. And in less than 1 year, it was gone. His photonic alphabet that he wanted to sort of push onto people in America, big failure. And his inventions, he didn't invent glasses the first time. The bifocals took him many steps, and he failed a lot, but he was failing for success. They taught him what not to do, and so we're sort of the failures with inventions. We're going to sort of move towards the failures with his political beliefs, and how that made him better. Because Benjamin Franklin was absolutely a leader of the country, and he excelled as leader because he was a great inventor, great businessman, great diplomat. And another great thing about him is that he was elected as ambassador for the French in America, and so he was actually helped get the treaty of the name of the treaty is, sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the treaty, but it was a treaty with the French that helped bring the two countries closer together and actually helped get the French on America's side for the revolution. So without the French's help, the war could have ended up much differently, and the whole outlay of this country could have been very much different. But with Benjamin Franklin's intelligence, good communication skills, and power, he was able to bring the two countries together and further unite people across the world to do what was right. And he was at the Constitutional Convention and was one of the top people in charge there, helped draft the Declaration of Independence, a main figure in all of these founding of America moments. And I'm actually going to read his final speech at the Constitutional Convention. And this is from the notes of James Madison. And the speech sort of talks about, the Constitution's imperfections and how Benjamin Franklin isn't really sure if he understands it or believes all of it. But he does agree that the Constitution is what best for the country, and this is how things should be done. So I'm going to read this, and this is his final speech at the Constitutional Convention. Mr. President, I confess that I do not entirely approve of this Constitution at present. But, sir, I am not sure I shall never approve it. For having lived long, I have experienced many instances of being obliged, by better information or fuller consideration, to change opinions even on important subjects which I once thought right, but found to be otherwise. It is therefore that the older I grow, the more apt I am to doubt my own judgment, and to pay more respect to the judgment of others. Most men, indeed, as well as most sects and religion, think themselves in possession of all truth, and that wherever others differ from that, it is so far error. Still, a Protestant in dedication tells the Pope that the only difference between our two churches in their opinions of the certainty of their doctrine is the Romish Church is infallible, and the Church of England is never in the wrong. But though many private persons think almost as highly of their own infallibility as of their own sect, few express it so naturally as a certain French lady who was in a little dispute with her sister said, "I don't know how it happened, sister, but I meet with nobody but myself that is always in the right." In these sentences, sir, I agree to this Constitution, with all its faults, if they are such, because I think a general government necessary for us, and there is no form of government but what may be a blessing to the people if well administered. And I believe further that this is likely to be well administered for a course of years, and can only end in despotism as other forms have done before it. When the people shall become so corrupted as to need despotic government, being incapable of any other. I doubt, too, whether any other convention we can obtain may be able to make a better constitution. For when you assemble a number of men to have the advantage of their joint wisdom, you inevitably assemble those men, all their prejudices, their passions, their errors of opinions, their local interest, and their selfish views. From such an assembly can a perfect production be expected? It therefore astonishes me, sir, to find the system approaching so near to perfection as it does. And I think it will astonish our enemies, who are waiting with confidence to hear that our counsels are confounded, like those of builders of Babel, and that our states are on the point of separation, only to meet hereafter for the purpose of cutting one another's throats. Thus I consent, sir, to this Constitution, because I expect no better, and because I am not sure that it is not the best. The opinions I have had of errors, I sacrifice to the public good. I have never whispered a syllable of them abroad. Within these walls they were born, and here they shall die. If every one of us, in returning to our constituents, were to report the objections he has had to it, and use this influence to gain partisan in support of them, we might prevent its being generally received, and therefore thereby lose all of the salutary effects and great advantages resulting naturally in our favor among foreign nations, as well as among ourselves, from our real or apparent unanimity. Much of the strength and efficiency of any government in procuring and securing happiness to the people depends on opinion, on the general opinion of the goodness of the government, as well as the wisdom and integrity of the governors. I hope, therefore, that for our own sakes, as part of the people, and for the sake of posterity, we shall act heartily and unanimously in recommending this Constitution, wherever our influence may extend, turn our future thoughts and endeavors to the means of having it well administered. On the whole, sir, I cannot help expressing a wish that every member of the convention, who may so have objections to it, would with me on this occasion doubt a little of his own infallibility, and to make manifest our unanimity, put his name to this instrument. So a really cool part of the speech is near the end of it, when he says that, if we have objections, let us discuss them in this room, and don't go back to your colony or wherever you're based in and start spreading your objections there, because that's just going to create further distance and separate people when this country should be coming together. And that really shows how focused Benjamin Franklin was on bringing everyone together. And like I said before, I think this couldn't have been done without his failures. He failed, but he kept on working and working and working, and that's why he was so smart. He learned from his mistakes and just perfected himself, and that's why he is a great American, and how he was able to have such a great influence in many areas, in both the business, his inventions, and his political acts. So there's Ben Franklin. Thank you.